Oh, hello. It's me, that D-O-double-G. And welcome, one and all, to the Absolute Football Podcast. And what a horrifically disgusting evening it is weather-wise. I hope wherever you're listening, if it's now that you're inside, that you are warm and you are snuggly. And people who are home warm and snuggly are my good friends with me this evening. And he wasn't here last week. I wasn't sure if I'd set him. So I'd just like to say whatever I said, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. I just want Sam back for good. I want you back, whatever the song, and I'll sing it. You'll be right and understood. Sam, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing well. You might have to save that song for post Anfield. I reckon you probably will need it again when we come and visit you in a few weeks. But I'm doing well, mate. I'm happy. We've all had wins, haven't we? It's very rare. We've got a panel of full wins, and Lucas and I are in Champions League places in the FPL. Life's good, you know.
Oh, smash. And it's not just Sam. There's somebody who you haven't seen for a while. This man hasn't been with us for a while. And I've heard that all he's been doing each night is to pray, hoping that he'll be part of the pod again someday. And all he does each night is think of all the times he had to close the door to talking about football here on the Absolute Football Podcast. And he kept his love within, though. Lucas, how are you this evening, sir?
Good. I am very good. Thank you. Yeah, it has been a while. So I'm happy to be back.
It has. And look at that. Look at that lovely background you've got there. It's terrible. It's terrible. And for all of our audio listeners as well, you can be here live in the chat and be part of us because we have Claire in the chat. Good evening, Claire. A beautiful bunch because Sam and Lucas are here. That's when it becomes beautiful. We've got the drag factor of myself, but the two chaps here propping us up. We also have Alid. Thank you very much for joining us as well. And Simon, there is Simon there as well, and Lisa, and Mr. Lukeland, and all of our friends here. Thank you very much for joining us. And who've we got? We've got Claire telling us this. It's good to support the most informed team in the country. I think she's preferring Stockport because either that or it could well be the man of the hour, the man with the power who finally gets to speak about his team in red winning a game. We'll start there because he hasn't got to do it for any week. Sam, Manchester United 1, Luton 0, a victory. How did it make you feel?
The highlight of my season, a 1-0 win at home to Luton, just about sums it up, I think. Just relief. It was a terrible game to watch. Knowing that we should win, but we're sort of slowly plodding around again. Nothing was happening. The game was drifting on. And then one of our top goal scorers again, another defender comes to our rescue, and we got 3 points. That's about as much, I think, as you can say. So, it's 3 points. It's 3 points. It's not 0. It's not 1. We haven't had a draw, actually. We win or lose. That's how we play it. No win, losers or draws here. Mostly losses, unfortunately. But
at least you're not on the fence. You're dedicated one way or the other.
No, absolutely. Well, they won, I think, is the summary. Is in hindsight. It wasn't great, but I'll take it.
I mean, Lisa's agreed. Yeah, you win. And Claire's got to ask, what's going on? United really are naff.
They are.
So mean.
It's terrible to watch. And then when you look at the table, there was a point yesterday where I was like, we're 6 points off top. What's going on here? This is absolutely bonkers with a -3 goal difference. It's not great. It's not great football. It's not a great watch. It's stressful. It's going to get worse with the fixtures coming up unless something different happens. But for now, for 2 weeks while the internationals are on, I can breathe for a minute.
And Harry Maguire, man of the match. Harry Maguire, man of the hour, man with the power. Another one. What's going on there? Is he really your linchpin? Is he holding it all together for you?
To be fair to him, in the last 4 or 5, he's been as good as any of them. He has looked a bit more assured and confident. Some of that is probably the fixture list a little bit. If you look at the Premier League, the teams who've been up against won't challenge him in the way some of the others have. But he's done all right. He's not been the biggest problem. So that, I think, is about as much as a compliment as you can give him. He's not been the biggest problem.
I think that's lovely. He's done all right. That's
what. If you hit 5 or 6 out of 10, you're one of the best players in our squad so far this season. So, yeah, he's up there.
It is. I mean, another goalless game for Hoyland. I mean, at some point, is he allowed to score a goal? Has he been banned? Is there something we don't know?
Well, he did miss a sitter. He had an absolute sitter, 6 yards. He kind of tried to knee it past the keeper. But Champions League was something different. Champions League, he loves it. The old European football, but it just looks like he's trying a bit too hard. I think in some cases, particularly some of the chances he's had, snatched at it a little bit. But he's also, to be fair, not getting the creativity that he should be getting from the forward players either.
Yeah, that service is pretty pap, really. In there, I mean, another mix. So McTominay, Ericsson, and Fernandez is just the midfield trio for you, or did that not float your boat?
Well, not anymore, because Ericsson's another one on the injury list I heard about half an hour ago. So he's out for another month. So yeah, bring someone else in. Against Luton at home, not so much of a problem because you're going to have the ball. That's what you want Ericsson doing. Because Luton sit back, not because they're so bad, because that's how they play. They defend against you deep, and they give away possession, and you just pass it around the back, and you don't break them down. And then so Ericsson's fine, but in games where you need a little bit of legs in midfield, big issue. But as I sort of said in previous United analysis, you get one thing with one player, which means you lose something else with them as well. Ericsson's one of those. McTominay's another. He'll give you some things, but not others. And the balance in midfield has been a poor season, but creativity was the biggest problem at the weekend. Biggest problem why they didn't break them down easily or more earlier.
Yeah, it's Sunday. I mean, Lucas, you haven't been with us for a while. Do you want to lend your thoughts on what's going on at Manchester United recently? Because I'm sure you've enjoyed some of that.
I wouldn't use the word enjoy when I'm talking to their games, that is. I mean, the downfall's been very entertaining, but you are by far the most awful team to watch this season, and I don't even think it's close. Everton potentially at the beginning, but out of nowhere they're starting to just win games, and actually they're playing some decent football at times as well. But you lot struggling against Luton at home it just sums up your season, to be honest. And then also the fact that you are only 6 points behind us, you're 2 wins behind us. It's just what is actually going on.
It's mad. Imagine if we'd have won at the Emirates, we'd be with you.
Yeah,
we'd be level on points.
This is the thing with the Premier League, is that it's becoming more and more a case of you really can't call it until at least game week 25. Like it's almost like these games, obviously they matter, but it's almost like the table just doesn't exist now. Just take the little wins here and there, but the table, forget about the table now. It just doesn't matter because United have been so bad. They're 2 wins behind us, and we have to go to Old Trafford. So let's assume we all win the other games. We go to Old Trafford and lose. They're 3 points behind us, 1 win. So yeah, I was enjoying it, but ultimately they're grinding out results. So they won't get relegated, unfortunately. Sorry, Josh. I really wanted it to happen, but maybe next year.
Well, you never know. Just to bring us up to date with the chat, Heather is joining us, so she's saying hello, and also she really likes your microphone, Lucas.
Thank you, Heather.
Oh, he's got style, that lad. He's got style. And Chris says that every league from the Premier League to League 2 is close. It's madness. It is to be fair, most of the leagues,
Europe as well.
Everywhere is so tight. I mean, hopefully I've created my slides correctly this week. I haven't uploaded them yet, so we'll find out later. So that's exciting. But that'll certainly show that it is. Everyone is. It's all very, very tight as a tiger. But and Simon saying, "I feel sorry for you guys. Must be so difficult having to watch Premier League football. It's tested.
It's arguable that we're playing Premier League football at the minute. To be honest, I'm watching opposition play Premier Legue football. But
well, that's I was gonna. There. I mean, Luton's. I'd say they gave you a game. They did. It was just bad. It was just a bad game. I want to find something positive for Luton, but I can't recall anything.
They're just not very good.
No, and they set up the way that everybody always sets up at Old Trafford when we were good. They really set up. I didn't think they had to do that. I really don't think they had to do that. I thought they could have been a bit more ambitious against us because we are making mistakes and errors, and they were too deep to do anything when they then got the ball. They were relying on a set piece or a moment, and it just wasn't. They didn't show any ambition. I thought they should have done because United aren't exactly flowing with confidence.
Yeah, once they started to actually like give it a go. It looks like they looked pretty much even
Yeah,
and then, towards the end of the second half, it was like if Luton had gone out with a game plan like that from the beginning, I think they beat you. And
did I see some
they
stat
had chances?
They had chances. They've scored like the second most out of the teams at the last 10 minutes or something. In their last 10 minutes, so it's almost like they sit, and then go, screw it, let's have a go.
We need to attack. They need to be a bit more confident. But like, what's the striker called? Is it Morris? He missed a pretty good chance. He just missed the ball completely. It's those kind of moments. I just don't think they've got enough clinical players in that team to keep them up. But footballing wise, they're giving it. They're all right, and they're not as bad as I thought they would be. But there's nothing there. There's nothing there to keep them up.
It's difficult, and they played well the week before as well. I mean, they kept Liverpool. I thought Liverpool would walk through them, and they were, moments away, weren't they?
It's almost like a little bit of tactical immaturity. They want to be too cautious. And sometimes you just got to do it. You've just got to go balls to the wall. I mean, I like to say Championships is better division for competitiveness than the Prem, which Luton can tell us about it next season then. And we've got an unknown user up the Cherries. We will be covering the Cherries later. Unknown user, don't you worry. Lisa's saying United will never go down.
Never.
Don't you worry. Never. They're far too resilient for that game. But before we move on, any happy thoughts you want to pass on United before we move on to the next game, Sam? Because it isn't a week to rant about them too much. You could, no doubt, but so let's nice news.
Keep the positivity. They've got some of them have got a rest for a couple of weeks. There's they can go into this break hopefully with some renewed confidence. Perhaps the fixture list looks pretty nasty coming up pretty soon. I think we start back away at Everton, who obviously picked up a little bit, and then there's Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle away, all on the horizon. So I think just take this moment, see if we can get some players back from injury. Luke Shaw, I've heard, might be back soon.
Ooh.
Which would be nice to have a left back instead of a Lindelof at left back or Dalot at left back. But still, we're clutching at straws a bit, really. Højlund's out to the end of November, so Anthony Martial, that's positive, isn't it?
Awesome. I don't know what to say.
Someone give Weghorst the ring. Surely he must be available.
I don't know if he scored again this week, but he scored last week, so he's one ahead. He's got one more domestic goal than Højlund does. And so I would say all the behind the scenes stuff must be affecting them because no one has done well since Alex. This is true. And an unknown user is Matt. Matt is his name.
Welcome.
Hello, Matt. Thank you for joining us. And apparently he came on from Heather's tweet. Well done, Heather. You keep flying the flag for the podcast. And Alan agrees Everton are okay. They think Everton are okay because Luke doesn't think they're ever going to go down, even though he cannot stand them. And that's nice. That's the love. I don't know. Then they aren't. They're going to be like, I was going to say a turd that won't flush, but that's not very nice on Everton, is it? Keep it on the positive note, as he is here for the first time in a while. Arsenal 3, Burnley 1. Lucas, how did that game make you feel?
I didn't really care for it, to be honest. It's could have put my house on us winning that game. We were a bit shaky in that first half, and then they equalised. But come on, they're another one who are just them and Sheffield. There's nothing there, so we should be dispatching of those teams, and we did in the end. Some good performances. I thought Zinchenko was really good.
Yeah,
that's his best performance for a while. He's not been great at all, and I think when he's going forward, I'm kind of looking at him like, why don't we just put him in midfield? Why don't we just? I think Arteta's finally realised this 65 million pound A/B test project that he's running is just not going to work because he was taken off in the 58th minute, which for the first time he finally just subbed him and got rid of him. It's just like, oh shit, I actually need to win this game, so get rid of the experiment and just go with your best available lineup. So I think just put Zinchenko there and do Zinchenko. If you have to play Jorginho, just play it fine. And who's on the right? Declan Rice. Yeah, so it's Declan Rice, Zinchenko, Jorginho. I mean, it's relatively defensive, but Zinchenko, he actually progresses the ball. So I'm like, and he knows how to do like intricate 5-10 yard passes. So get him playing there. But yeah, I mean, Burnley again, they're another one. I don't think they're as bad as their results are saying, but they can't defend. They don't know what they're doing defensively. I mean, Trossard scored a header, like against Burnley's defense. That just says it all, to be honest.
Yeah, they're not really that good at the moment. I think we had Dan on last week. I think it was last week, and he wasn't too overwhelmed with the performances. I think he thinks that's a little bit underwhelming. Claire saying Declan Rice is so good. I mean, I tell you who else had a good game for me. William Saliba is having a pretty tidy season. Isn't it? I think was it Saliba who was on loan two or three seasons ago in the French league? Is that Saliba or Gabriel?
He was signed to Emery signed him. He was signed under that regime.
Goodness gracious me! I mean, he did. I mean, you're sitting with David Raya in goals at the moment as well. Is he on number one for you?
He made some good saves. Yeah, he has to. Just leave him in there. I think the media have basically made this Raya versus Ramsdale thing, and the fans aren't helping with it as well. But he's got to just stick with Raya as the number one. But I said it back in the summer. I was like, when we signed Raya, I was like, well, surely you sell Ramsdale now, because having two number ones I don't think it works out well. You need a backup and you need a first choice. You don't have two first choice keepers going at it, because you end up in this situation where they're just so nervy. They start making mistakes like Raya was. And I think we haven't seen the end of it, but for now, he's got to stay in goal. I think he's the better keeper. And yeah, he's made some good saves. He made a really good save in that Burnley game.
While we're on the Arsenal conversation, because we haven't had it on for a few weeks. I mean, the goalkeeper situation is one of our Tetris experiments. Going mental is another experiment he's trying out at the moment. As an Arsenal fan, are you defending him on 1 week defending VAR, then the next week having a pop at them? Or does he know what he's doing, or do you think he's just playing a game? Or are you happy? How do you feel?
It's definitely hypocritical, because they literally asked him about it after the Liverpool game, and he didn't have that same energy. So I know he's our manager, but I don't care. It is very hypocritical. But I do also sympathize that it's different when it is your team. Like, you are going to have a bit more of passion involved, but nobody forced you to come out and defend VAR and refs. Nobody put those words in your mouth. Like, you said that of your own free will. So you kind of have to take the L there. But everything he said was right. I mean, everything he said was right. You know, he didn't say anything wrong. Same thing with what Klopp was saying before. Like, everything they said was right. It's a complete shambles. So we'll see what happens. I thought he was going to get a ban, but maybe it's coming at some point. But I mean, he took. You know what is annoying me with it though is it took it away from the fact that we were so poor against Newcastle, and we have been poor for a while. I wouldn't say poor, but we haven't been playing our best ability. We are. I think we're like bottom 5 for created chances through the middle. There's nothing through the middle of our pitch. It's all Martinelli and Saka, which you know is fine. But across the season, certain teams are going to go like Chelsea did, like Newcastle did, and they're just going to go double up on those wingers, bully them a bit, you know, kick them here and then. Don't give them, you know, more than 5 seconds on the ball, because nothing's coming through that middle. And I think he's got to address that soon, because we will struggle. And even against Burnley were dealing with it for a good chunk, because they were like, nothing's coming through the middle. So I think it takes it away from that a little bit. But everything he did say was right. But it took away from the fact that, I'm sorry, we were awful in that Newcastle game. Like, forget about the referee decision. We were shit.
I mean, you're not a fan of habits through the middle, then.
God. Don't even get me started with that guy, because the amount of people still defend. I've heard. What's the other one I heard the other day? He's gaining confidence. That's the other one I heard the other day. That was it.
He hasn't played a lot of football, has he?
Yeah. That's the one I heard, which was to basically justify Havertz. It was he's gaining confidence. That's where we're at now with football. He's gaining confidence. So
must have been that penalty they gave him a few weeks back. It's just boosted his mood.
Yeah, it's just the sitters, like the headers he misses, are just so comical. But you know, anyone can put together a compilation. I'll give him some praise. I'll say in that he is putting a shift in up there, and he is running his socks off. But he is literally destroying every single attack. Like in that Burnley game, every time we had the ball on an attack, and as soon as it went to him, possession lost. And then he was taken off the 58th minute because of that reason. It was like we were not fluid with him in the team. I think it's a failed experiment, and the sooner we move on from it, the better, to be honest.
I mean,
don't even get me started on that guy as well, Heather.
Yeah, Nketiah is doing well. He had a good. I struggle with fans with social media. Arsenal fans of Eddie Nketiah. He's either the worst player in the world or the greatest striker.
It's so up and down. He's not good enough. He's not the worst, but he's not the kind of player you want in your team for a title challenge. Let's be real. We need a proper striker up there.
I'm happy with it. As a Liverpool fan, I'm really happy with Nketiah being your go-to striker. And, I've noticed in the chat, not only did Claire say Declan Rice is so good, Heather also loves a little bit of Declan Rice as well.
He's quality, yeah.
And Lisa likes a bit of Declan Rice as well. They're all singing the Muller Rice song. And Luke said it's mental the top four are still in competition for the Premier League in November. You even added in Aston Villa. I think if you go down to Aston Villa in 5th or 6th, I think there's like 6 points separating them.
There are 2 points. We're not in competition for the league. We are by points, but Man City are just looking at us. It's like when it comes for them to press that button and win 12 games in a row, none of us look in any shape to keep up with them when that inevitably happens, because we all know it's going to happen. So at this point, you need to be looking at Liverpool and an Arsenal and who else is there? Who's after behind us? And the Spurs, and going, shit, they look like they could keep this up. But all of us have got question marks. And then City's only one is, they do this every year. And everyone says the same thing every year. They're like, you can get a City. They're not looking as good as last year. Like everyone says the same thing every season, as if we haven't learned our lesson for the last 3 years. They are not perfect up until January. And then he turns on the switch and that's it. It's game over.
I mean, and let's hit on that. Chelsea 4, Man City 4. I mean, Sam, while you're sipping on your Mr. Rich tea, Lionel Rich tea, how did that game make you feel? The double Desi!
Love a double Desi because it's just entertainment. You throw everything out the window. You just get a load of goals. You get bonkers. Particularly at that game, I think it'd been like 1-0, hadn't it, been to City for like the last 5 or 6 results for that one. And Chelsea just threw it up. They just threw it up and kind of went at them. They played pacey. They played aggressive. They pressed them. They did everything they needed to do. And what a game, eh? That's what a Super Sunday should be, particularly when it's neutral. I'm not fighting with Man City, and I'm probably Chelsea behind me at the minute. So, but it was just good to watch, and you just kind of wondering and waiting to see what happened next, which is what we all want when we watch the Premier League. So, from an actual entertainment spectacle, taking all the teams aside, that's exactly what we want. More of that.
And do you know it was like 1 goal, equaliser, another goal, equaliser, another goal, equaliser. Do you know the last Premier League game that happened in? The last 2 teams involved in a 4-4 draw that went goal, equaliser. Lucas, you should know this. It is indeed.
Yes, with
our shavings goal.
I remember that.
Yeah, what a game that was.
I was cheering with you that day, Lucas. That was a big one for us. That one, yeah.
Was that FA Cup or was it Carabao Cup?
I cannot remember.
It might have been a league game, actually.
It was the league.
I think it was a
league game, yeah.
Because we were in the title fight, United and Liverpool title fight, and Arsenal kept pegging Liverpool back. Yeah,
I don't know. I was working at Mega Bowl at the time. I was watching it in Mega Bowl, getting really upset and throwing things all over the place. But yeah, that was just an interesting little factoid for you all. Yeah, but 4-4. I mean, and it goes to show, as I've said consistently, Pep isn't a very good tactical manager. Attack City, attack them. The only problem you've got is if they have the ball, you're in a lot of trouble because they could smash any team to pieces. But I keep saying it consistently: attack him, attack Man City.
You better hope Klopp does what you after the international break. Then, George.
It's the only time we ever beat them is when we go for it. Whenever you try to play, because Man City, once they've got the ball, they've got that ball. They're going to hang on to it forever until they score a goal or it goes out or something. But if you go after them, and that's what Chelsea did, and that's what I quite like. They just went at them with pace. Lucas, Raheem Sterling, what a game!
Yeah, well, him and Cole Palmer, I think the ex-City boys were. Sterling was outstanding. I haven't seen someone have Kyle Walker on strings like that in a long time. I was very shocked it was going to be Sterling. If you told me one winger in the world who would give Kyle Walker a nightmare, and you said Sterling, I'd call you crazy. But he had a really good game, and he's been showing up a few. That's like his 4th like really outstanding performance for Chelsea this season. So it's just the consistency of him. And if Poch can get that working, like he'll have a player on his hands. He can get Sterling in and around the box, adding goals, assists, things like that. So Sterling was brilliant. Reece James was outstanding. Again, you just got to keep him fit, but we all know how good he is. Conor Gallagher, for me, I don't know is he Freaky Friday'd with like Nicky Barella from Inter or something? Because Conor Gallagher's is insane. I mean, he ran our midfield ragged. Like he completely, it's like intricate, like one touch passing and beating the press. And you don't expect it from him because he looks quite clunky on the ball, but they used him effectively against us, and he completely outshone Odegaard when they played us. And in that game again against Rodri, against who was in the field, Foden as well. He was helping out on that side. Conor Gallagher for me was the big shock because everyone kind of thought Raheem Sterling would turn up, but not to that level. But Conor Gallagher dominating at midfield with Man City and like giving it a go. I think he needs a bit of praise because I think he's a very good footballer, but he's smashing it. This is what you want from McTominay. It's basically the same sort of thing. It's like player whose technical ability isn't quite there, but just stay focused for 90 minutes.
Just put him in a Scotland shirt. That's all you need
to
do.
Do that, yeah, seriously. But I get what you're saying with like attacking Pep. Like, I think Pep got the game wrong with his starting lineup to an extent. I think they've kind of mentioned the big one was not having Jack Grealish in the team.
Vidoku,
I thought he would, because I was like, I get that Reece James is, just come back from injury, but he's not really a defender you can kind of do that against, especially at Stamford Bridge. So I think there's a risk with Doku, and they kept losing the ball on that side because every time Doku, Haaland, these are all direct players. It was too direct, and it played into Chelsea's hands, then made it end to end, which is not what Pep wants to do whatsoever. So I think they should have started Grealish. Stones was a miss, but I think they should have put Akanji in midfield and played Ake. Was Ake back? Yeah, and played Ake in centre back. Akanji was pretty good, and I think they could have used another one of those centre backs next to Rodri instead of just Rodri on his own was struggling to make challenges, and he looked really off the pace. So I think Pep got it slightly wrong, but I wouldn't look into too much from Chelsea because they'll go and lose to Burnley or someone they haven't played now afterwards.
Well, it's always the follow-up game that matters. I mean, quickly just catching us up in the chat. I miss Luke telling us it's the first draw of the season for Man City. Claire feels that Cole Palmer has a big future. And what else we got? Heather saying this is meant to say Raheem. She did correct herself later on, but she doesn't like Raheem Sterling. She's not sure. I didn't like him because the way he left Liverpool, but he's playing like a mature adult at Chelsea now and again. He's like he's trying to take control of the young kids and show them how to play, despite the fact that he's still 27, something like that. He just looks like he's been around for 750 years.
I also did love him at Liverpool. I preferred his playing style at Liverpool for his entire career than his playing style at Man City, but it was more effective because Pep just turned him into a goal-scoring winger. But at Liverpool, if people remember, he was almost like
he's a bit like
he was more like a Trek. But he was playing behind. He played behind. You had him behind the striker, and then when you had Sterling, not Sterling, you only had Sturridge and Suarez. You almost had a front three with Sterling kind of dipping into midfield and then going to the wing. But he was always like involved in that final pass towards, and then running into the box through the middle. I thought he was great at Liverpool.
He seemed to be happier. I got to be honest. He looked happier at Liverpool than he did at City. I do think he looks a bit energized at Chelsea. I think it's because Pep does what Pep does, and he upsets players. I just tries to beat them up after all. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Poch is he's doing a little something. I mean, Cole Palmer. Yeah, I found out allegedly. I've heard Cole Palmer is a Man United fan, which really must upset all of the. He's one of our own Man City fans. We finally got one. He's one of our own. No, he's a Man United fan. I mean, the ball's on him, Sam, surely to stand up and take that penalty against your old club in the 95th minute.
It shows something else, doesn't it? I think as well, because Pochettino said he hasn't designated a penalty taker. He's left it up to them. And Palmer sort of said, I'm your guy. And that's what I liked is that City were doing the kind of understandable underhand tactics delay the penalty. There was all the pushing and shoving and the nonsense, and he was just sort of like stood there. And I just imagine just kind of in his head, it just go and he wasn't with any of it. And I think I heard him described as today as cool Palmer. He was cool Palmer for that penalty, and it was brilliant. I mean, what I like about Cole Palmer is him receiving the ball on the half turn. And he's got that ability to take it past a man and open things. And that's what Chelsea were using, opening that space up, taking a man out of play, and then your spaces arrives. And he's just taken to it. He's becoming the first name on their team sheet. And considering that I don't think he got the same fanfare as a number of other signings they made this summer, it kind of happened late, didn't it? It was a real late one.
42 million right on like the last day or the last week.
The last day. And I think it was, I forget who the Chelsea guy is. It's one of the directors. He went for Man City, didn't he? One of their head honchos in terms of their recruitment, I think, who he was apparently really close to. So I think that was a massive thing in moving him across. And it's just flourished. It's just flourished and continues to. So it would be nice to see him continue to play from an England perspective in that kind of way. He's in the England squad, isn't he? So he was
what sort of position does he play? Because he doesn't feel like a winger to me.
No, he's kind of a right coming off, but then he was picking the ball up centrally quite well, wasn't he? So I don't know. I think he's one of those. He's going to evolve in terms of his position. It's a bit like Foden, isn't it? Like I think kind of can match into a number of sort of roles.
I don't know how this is going to work with England, but we've got a lot of fluid players, and I don't think Southgate's going to know how to get the best out of these guys. Like your Maddison, Palmer, and Bellingham, like these guys, I'm just looking at like we're going to struggle.
Southgate doesn't know what to do with footballers. Full stop.
Yeah, and then
let's make a soup
into midfield. Yeah, exactly. Palmer's like he's not got the passing ability of like he's more of a. He's another one that like late running to the box and just a free roll. Let's say it's a free roll in midfield. Just pick up in certain pockets, drive forward, and then release. It's almost like, to be honest, it's almost like what Mount was doing under Tuchel and a bit for Lampard as well for Chelsea. That kind of free roam just behind the striker. You're not really a 10. You're not really a shadow striker. You kind of we just need you to run around and pick up certain spaces. But he's good. There was question marks over that signing, to be honest. But I don't know. I wouldn't go as far to say that City got it wrong. I think it's a good deal for both teams because, again, I don't think he's good enough to get in that City side. And I'm looking at him like, could they really use him right now? Probably not. Does he add anything? So I think it's actually a good deal for both teams. It's one of those rare ones where I'm like, 40 million is a pretty decent chunk of money.
Although Pep would probably disagree with you today.
Well, I think the thing was he obviously played quite a few times last season, didn't he? But I don't think we saw an awful lot of him. And he had that, he scored in the Community Shield. And was it the first game of the season or something? He scored for City. No, it was the Super Cup, wasn't it? He scored for City.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of announced him. I just wondered that if it was a City that was moving on a De Bruyne and starting to make that transition, that probably now's the time for Palmer. But I think, well, you've still got De Bruyne, Silva in there. That midfield is at least for the next 12 months. And he obviously didn't want to. He's 21, I think, as well. So that's fairly starting to move on in terms of wanting to play consistently at that age to get your development. So, yeah, as Lucas said, I think best for both parties at the moment.
I think Pep's gone for Alvarez as the De Bruyne, and he's going to change it up a bit because I didn't even realize it. And I was talking to my brother about this, and he was like, I was like, well, you got De Bruyne coming back in Jan. I was like, he can't be that old. De Bruyne's 32.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's a big injury.
With a lot of injuries he's had now.
Yeah. So he's a good player, but you never know. This could be a bit where he comes back and he's just not the same. And I think they've shifted the way they're playing where they don't need a long-range passer like that. And then you've now got Alvarez. You've got runners behind Haaland who just offer different outlets. And Alvarez is a good passer as well, but just, not De Bruyne. So I think that's their new shift now.
Yeah, it's... I mean, from a Man City perspective, like I said, I don't care much for them. But it was nice to see Diaz lose his head a little bit and I'd stopped thinking for that penalty at the end. That was lovely. But the penalty at the showed at the start, Erling Haaland's penalty, is that a penalty for you guys? To start with you, Sam, was that a pen for you? Or
no, it's what I'd call a City penalty at the minute. There's too much of that. The amount of times I'm seeing other people get pulled and dragged in the bottom, but as soon as it's City, I mean, Haaland's a big fella. He had his arm on him first, I thought. But didn't Reece James went down with a head injury as well. I mean, that should have been the first thing I thought that should have been stopped. So there was a number of issues I had with it, apart from it just being a Man City penalty. But
are you taking that pen, Lucas?
Nah, I wouldn't mind it if it was consistent, but something like that, I was like, that was a really soft goal, and it's not consistent. So I'm just like,
exactly,
it is what it is.
And he's a big lad, Earl, and you have to put some effort into to pull him down. If you see him,
Cucurella is only 6'5" with a hench, is he? I mean, come on.
It's certainly interesting. And in the chat we've got here, Lisa saying the wonder is, could Chelsea finish higher than mid-table? Luke saying no, keep the mid-table. That would be nice. Craig wants Chelsea, thinks Chelsea going to be the top 6. Only Villa could stop them. I mean, before we move on, I'll start with you this time, Lucas. Do you think this is some sort of revival for Chelsea, or just a flash in the pan because attacking City is fun?
Yeah, I think it is a flash in the pan. They even in their worst, they always put up a fight against the big teams because we open up for them. But it's the small ones that they have problems with. They can't break down defenses. So I need to see them put in this kind of performance against a mid-table side before I'm convinced with Chelsea, and they're just not doing it consistently enough. So who's their next fixture? Because I'm pretty sure they got pretty rough fixtures anyway. Like Villa, Newcastle.
Newcastle away, then Brighton at home. Oh, Man City away. Then Everton away, and then they got Sheffield United. So the big. I mean,
you mean Man United?
Man United, yeah. Sorry, that's where the mockery came from.
They're playing the mid-table team there on the 6th of December.
That'll be an awful game. That won't be as exciting as the one you saw yesterday. I can guarantee.
It's going to be a stinker. Oh my god,
it's going to be bad.
If Chelsea play like that against United, though.
Yeah, but it won't. I think this is what Lucas said. They played well against the top. They're unbeaten against the top 6 or so because they get space and they play. But teams that won't do that against them, then they're going to struggle. It's not going to be that fast paced. We slow the life out of games. Don't worry, it won't be that fast paced. Maguire and Evans will slow that down. Don't you worry. Cole Palmer will be thinking, "Oh my god, I'm bored." He'll be asleep by half time. So,
well, and as we said, as Lucas said, they seem to struggle against the mid-table teams, duel against the big ones. Who's their manager, and how did he do at Spurs? Exactly that. He's Poch is that manager. He just doesn't know. Just know. He's just. I agree with Charlotte. I don't rate him. I don't rate him either. Me and Shah are the non-Pochettino raters. Yeah,
I'm kind of with you there as well. I think he's an all right coach, but I don't think he's this elite manager everyone is rating.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm quick saying Chelsea beat Newcastle, and Newcastle not got many back for that one.
They've got a hideous injury list, haven't they, Newcastle? But it is at St James's Park too. So,
well, let's hit on that. For heaven's sake, Bournemouth 2, Newcastle 0. I mean, Lucas, how did that one make you feel?
I mean, it's just. I'm just waiting. I've got the receipts. I think there's one comment on when I said about Eddie Howe is going to get sacked, and there's one comment on TikTok going absolute rubbish. I was like, okay, cool. I'll be coming back to this when it inevitably happens because it is going to happen. It's like. He's another one where I honestly think he's the best option for England manager. I think he's got enough of in terms of man management where he'll keep the team united, he'll create a happy camp, and I think there's enough from him in terms of game management to get a team like England through a tournament. Whereas I think Southgate's got the United thing, but game management, shocking, tactics non-existent. Whereas I agree, you don't necessarily need a tactician, but you need a game manager. And I think Eddie Howe's game management is very good. I don't think he's the best tactician, but his ability to manage a game and his squad selection is very, very good. But yeah, I mean, injuries aside, they're just. Do they have a style of play, Newcastle? I do like Newcastle, but what are they actually really good at when it comes to playing? Can anyone say what their style of play is or what they're doing? And like when players get injured and some come in, it's completely different. Harvey Barnes is a completely different role to what Anthony Gordon's doing. Now Anthony Gordon's playing striker. It just seems like a bit of mix and match. And I think when you're in the Champions League and you're at the top end, you can't really be doing that.
I always think with Newcastle, look at that front three. You look at the top sides in the Premier League, and you can name Liverpool's front three, you can name City's front three, you can name Arsenal's front three. Where, as you say, Newcastle, it's a choice of about 5 or 6. I wouldn't know if everyone was fit who's going to start, which
Jacob
is good,
Murphy's
which gives you
starting
squads. But Jacob Murphy's played well.
I mean, it is. It's the balance. I mean, I've seen a lot of fans on social media giving Newcastle a grief. Now you're experiencing what it's actually like to be a good team and to have multiple
exactly
to
be played. This is what happens. And I mean,
I said they didn't do enough in the summer. I said they didn't do enough in the summer with the Champions League. You're not in the Europa League. You went straight to the Champions League. You need to get some proper recruitment, not Harvey Barnes. You need to get some proper players in.
Heather said Trippier losing it was hilarious. It was. I enjoyed that. I did because it's as we've all said. I mean, and Craig's saying Gordon up front doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense.
And they needed to have done better, and that's you get because it's not just lots of games that you're playing, it's the quality of games that you're playing and the distance that you're traveling. There's a lot more involved. Joining us up here with the big boys, it's not as easy as you think. I mean, Luke's saying they are in an injury crisis, but so is everybody. Every season, everyone's in an injury crisis, and that was sort of my job with it. Heather's saying Bournemouth have no such defensive midfielder, but. I mean, Dominic Solanke, though, he scored goals. I didn't realise he still enjoyed doing that. I mean, Sam, what did you think? Solanke scoring twice?
Well, this is, I think, 6th goal of the season. What was even better was Eddie Howe brought him in, wasn't he? It was an Eddie Howe Bournemouth signing. So, yeah, Solanke's in with 6. He's so key, though, to Bournemouth. I mean, I know he's not always been the most rated striker on the pod, shall we say, but he is effective for them. I mean, I think 60% of his goals or something, Bournemouth's goals have been Solanke so far this season, which also says they maybe need 1 or 2 more. But Bournemouth had a horrendous injury crisis with the players they brought in. You got a new manager trying to put his style, and I think they've suffered a lot with not having that. And maybe they're starting to get a bit of a mix. But I mean, they were missing. Was it Scott? He played really well last week against in the win that they had against Burnley. I think he was out again. Tyler Adams still out. So Bournemouth are sort of still trying to scratch some stuff together. But I think it seemed to be that way for quite a few teams so far this season. As soon as you think, that manager's in trouble, and I think we were all saying a few weeks ago, it's not started well. They pick up a couple of wins and it just sort of starts to ease off. But Newcastle would have been one of those. They wouldn't have thought so. But Eddie Howe, I don't think's beaten Bournemouth since he went to Newcastle. Heather might correct me on that, but I don't think he has.
And also, I've just seen Chelsea getting back because they play Newcastle at the international break.
Is it Kunku back?
And Kunku and Lavia are back for that game.
Ooh.
I mean, Kunku is the big question mark. I think Lavia will get in that team because there's talks of Enzo needs a bit of a break because he's not been great for them recently, and him and Caicedo isn't quite working. But yeah, Newcastle.
I know the thing is, if I'm looking at the stats on the game and catching the little snippets that I did, I don't think it wasn't a smash and grab. They gave them a game of football.
They had some good chances. And the 2 that they scored were poorly defended, but they were creating quite well outside of that as well. I mean, the second goal with the corner was kind of nobody sort of did anything, and it stuck between about 10 players. And then Solanke got on the end of it. But they were creating, and they've been creating last few weeks. So winning breeds winning, doesn't it? So off the back of the Burnley result, they fancied it at home, went at them, and they're going to be key. Anyone in that bottom half of the table, it's the home games. If you can pick anything up against anybody in the top half, it's worth its weight in gold.
Well, I mean, they've got Sheffield United next away, granted, but Sheffield United, that's they should be able to get something there, surely, and that might start to elevate them further up the table because they're in 17th position. If they beat Sheffield United and provided Luton don't do anything. That pushes him even further. They'll be 6 points ahead then.
It would indeed. It's starting to move away a little bit at the moment, isn't it? Those 3 promoted clubs do need some wins. I know Luton picked one up the other week, but that will really, really kind of cement it. But it's funny, that's the sort of game where then you're going away. Sheffield United will look at Bournemouth and go, "We've got to win this one. Got to win." So Heather's right; they could have had 4-6. Really could have done. And I did think I saw Craig made a good point in the chat as well. Lewis Miley played for Newcastle in midfield. 17-year-old, I think, youngest player that's played in the Premier League the last 3 years. Very good potential, but again, starting a centre midfield role in a Premier League game with not kind of a lot around him made a big difference for them too. But he's one to keep an eye on, Lewis Miley. I think he's a great talent. But yeah, Bournemouth get a win over Sheffield United and they're flying high just before they come and play Man United.
Yeah, Craig is saying Newcastle worst performance and but Bournemouth were impressive. I mean, I just thought it was lovely that Bournemouth won at football and they look like they're going to potentially be able to save themselves, which I just think is lovely. And Dominic Solanke scoring always brings a smile because I'm sure there must be still clauses in his contract that Liverpool get money when he scores. He scored that few since they've had him. All right, and I think is there anything else? Is there any burning desire anybody has to talk about any other games? I do. I think a fun one to cover would be Wolves 2, Tottenham 1, the unbeaten North London team. Look how wonderful we are. Being humbled by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Lucas, Wolves 2, Tottenham 1. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, to be honest. So back to normal. The universe has reset itself. Everything's back in balance. Spurs are no longer these title challenges as everyone had them in, but it was inevitable, wasn't it? And I mean, the way it happened was it almost looked like they were going to pull off a pretty good victory in the end. But when you got Eric Dyer at the back and Ben Davies next to each other, it's a calamity waiting to happen. And I think the question mark was, I know we spoke about this. Was it Maddison and Son go down?
Yeah.
And that was another thing. I was like, Son going down, I don't think is as big because they've got. I wouldn't say you can replace Son, but they have options who offer a similar. They've got goal scoring options on the pitch who can, get them the goals. Maddison goes down. They have no other profile of player that plays like him in that team or that does anything remotely close to what he offers in that position. I mean, Lo Celso is probably the closest. So that's, it's not saying much, and he's better from a deeper role. So, and look here, it's not there. And then, defensively, both their centre backs out. It was a shambles in those last few minutes. So, yeah, good for Wolves. Another one, beating City and Spurs. I mean, I might have to get a Wolves shirt at this rate, especially if they give us 3 points. But yeah, I think, yeah, nice shirt, yeah. But I think, that answers the question in that they just haven't got the squad to mount a proper title or even be close to it for the whole season, I think. And Madsen's not back until mid-Jan, so.
Well, apparently Craig is saying Son's never scored against Wolves. Apparently it must be his bogey team. It's interesting. Heather's saying, do you think Spurs were on a new manager bounce? Which he was a new manager his first couple of games. But I think the thing that I saw, which was quite interesting, somebody pointed out, whenever Højbjerg, Dyer, and I think Ben Davies, for those three in the team, it slows the pace down tremendously and brings down the line, so it's not as a high line that brings it down, which then obviously when you've got a lower line just slows everything, you attack when you try and counter press. I mean, Sam, do you think we should blame Eric Dyer?
Should we blame Eric Dyer? The two goals that were scored, they just cut through them, didn't they? It was a knife through butter, and it was Dyer was part of that defence. So to an extent, I know I saw quite a few Spurs fans, I think, that were maybe not more worried, but just as worried about Van der Ven being out as they were with Maddison.
Yeah,
because they said Van der Ven's been really good and important in that line and managing that through, and to suddenly lose both, 3/4 of your defence because so Udogie and Romero as well. Dyer's just not. He's been off it for years, isn't he? Let's be honest, at centre back, and that's how they got through. Notwithstanding the phenomenal goal that Pablo Sarabia scored, by the way. I mean, that was beautiful, just off the edge of his toe and bang, having just come on. But No one picked him up. And then the second goal that Lamina got ran straight through. No one picked him up. No coordination in the defence. You've got to look at Eric Dyer potentially for that. It's going to come down to, when they were saying title challenges, everyone's saying title comes down to a squad, not the 11 that you're playing with at the start of the season. It's going to come down to when they're not available, and then you bring in and you call on the Eric Dyers of this world, then you're going to be struggling.
I mean, in their bench, bringing on Bentancur, Lo Celso and Brian Gill, that's not really filling the heart full of joy, is it?
I like Bentancur. I think Bentancur is a good player, but yeah, I'm not seeing much of Lo Celso. And Brian Gill went off to Spain last season, didn't he? And tore bits up and came back and stinking it out again, I suppose. But there's a big drop off, isn't there? There's a big drop off. But it's good. I think we can ask questions of what happens now. The Chelsea one was such a crazy game and 9-0 with high line and all of this nonsense, and they kind of had that excuse then to be like, okay, then they've got a hit here. They've got 2 weeks to kind of readdress, see what they're going to do when they come back, and the questions will be asked. And she still seems to be. I like his interviews because he's just so balanced. Do you know what I mean? There's so he's kind of like, he doesn't get the emotional either way. So you get the sense that he's not going to kind of panic with it. He was kind of expecting it. I think he said the line, you're either a manager in trouble or you're a manager on the verge of trouble. There's the two states that you're in as a manager of a football club. Unless you're like Jurgen Klopp or Ferguson or whatever there for years, I suppose. So I'm interested to see how the players react. I think Ange might be all right with it, but I think there's some players that mentally we saw what happened last season when things didn't go well, and it wasn't great.
I was going to say there's a lot of players from previous years where as soon as it sort of capitulates that this high and this confidence they've been bouncing on, that's not going to be there then. And as you said, they're relying on. I mean, I think Eric Dyer is the most ironically named footballer in the entire world of football. But I mean, Lucas, do you think Spurs now are they going to struggle? And I mean, they're not going to pull it around, or do you think Ange will rejuvenate their confidence?
I think they'll be all right.
Villa away next, mind.
Oh, okay,
at home, sorry. At home.
Yeah.
Villa at home, then Man City away.
Yeah, that might suit them, that high line, though.
Yeah, Villa at home, that's a good one. That's a good test, because Villa away's form has not been, which is why I didn't really put Villa in that, disrupting the top 5, because I just think away from home, Villa are great at home, but away from home, they're just not, they're not quite there yet. So Spurs need to go, they need to win that. Especially at home, they have to win that to really cement themselves in there. If they go and draw or lose that, then I think they're going to start slipping down the table.
Especially going to the Etihad then. I mean, Alan thinks Villa are going to win because they're in the better frame of mind at the moment. And I think so. It would be beautiful. I do think mindset is so important, that confidence element, especially after they played rather well this weekend. But I mean, let's say there was a comment I did want to bring up on Wolves. Where is that comment that somebody said? Here we are, the Craig. I mean, Sam, what are those names that he says that were good players in Wolves?
Those days. So Pablo Sarabia came off it's straight off the bench he was with that one. I'd say fantastic finish, and he was the assister, so it was a great substitute for us from him. Yeah, Sarabia coming in. Hwang doesn't get a lot of
He's
talk about.
I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of those sort of danger. He's not goal scorer, but he's a nuisance. I know he's a decent player as well.
He reminds me a bit of Park Ji-sung, Hwang, in that little industrial, running around, lots of energy, just buzzing around the place.
How dare you? There's only one Park Ji-sung and no one can touch that man. That man's he's an absolute saint Park Ji. I did like his energy. But I was worried for Wolves a little bit with Pedro Neto going out, because Pedro Neto has been fantastic so far this season. If Pedro Neto wasn't injured, I'd be seriously looking at him in January from top 6. Because the amount of chances that he creates, the amount of assists he's got with no one up top for Wolves, you stick him on the right of a 3 with a proper striker, you got trouble. So the fact they got that victory without Pedro Neto is probably even more impressive for me. But Gary O'Neill just keeps picking these wins up, doesn't he?
Yeah, because they have been just struggling. I mean, their next games are away at Fulham, which it would be nice for them to do something, but then they have to go to Arsenal. They go to the Emirates the 2nd of December, which I think they'll suffer a little bit there, but then they'll get to prop themselves up again with a home match against Burnley, which will be thoroughly enjoyable because if you want points, that's where you're getting them. You want those points, that's where you're going to get them from. So I'm going to make a valiant effort at the moment to hopefully bring up my slides for today. Let's see, are these the right slides? Sam can tell me, because apparently I got them wrong the other week and I was showing games that never even happened in other leagues, or a table that didn't exist, I think. But,
I might start doing that. I might just start putting up Man United tables from the 90s.
yeah, can you remember when? and so yeah, the other games we didn't cover was, of course, Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1, which was, I mean, anybody like to make a passing comment on just how well Unai Emery, Lucas, your friend and mine, Unai Emery, yeah, he's doing quite well at Aston Villa, isn't he?
Yeah, he's smashing it at the moment. Just got to get that away form going, and they could. Well, yeah, nobody wants to go to Villa Park right now.
Yeah, so they're rocking and rolling. They're Brighton. Brighton seem to have fallen over quite a bit recently. Where are Brighton? I can't even see them. They're down in eighth. They're nearly as bad as Chelsea. They drew 1-1 against Sheffield United. Of course, Liverpool beating Brentford 3-0. We're bang back on it now. We're going to give them a go. Man City at the top, I hope. Interest in midfield as well that we had against Brentford. Let's not try that experiment anymore. So Liverpool 3, Brentford 0. Next was West Ham playing football against Nottingham Forest. Apparently trying to hang on to a lead is not the way to go. You actually need to continue to play football. They managed to just pull that back and win 3-2 against Nottingham Forest. The other games we didn't cover, there's Everton. Everton won football, as Lucas mentioned earlier. Everton has started to play relatively entertaining football. But Lucas, aren't Crystal Palace boring and poo at the moment?
Oh man, so disappointing in that result, to be honest, because I love Palace, but you can't lose to Everton at home like that. So Roy's got to sort it out soon, because Palace have got enough in the tank to stay up, but they're starting to just become a nothing club, just doing nothing. Like never on the fringes of Europe, just about get above relegation at some point, like get enough points before January, and it's just a bit boring. I'd like to see Palace do something. They had it with Vieira for a bit, but yeah, it's annoying. But one day,
have they got Elise? I think Elise was back at the weekend. Though.
His first game back, yeah. He had a shocker with a free kick at the end.
Yeah, he needs some game time. Him and Eze.
They just any time you're playing Crystal Palace, I'm not interested. I just don't want to watch them. Just the most poo game of football. Even there'll be goals in it, but it's just boring and dull. Sort it out. Come on, Grandad Hodge, sort yourself out. But the table, as it says, Lucas tell us that bottom four is pretty realistic. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the bottom four come the end of the season. But for our audio listeners who are going, what is that bottom four they're talking about? That bottom four is Burnley, Sheffield United, Luton Town, and Bournemouth. Burnley on 4 points, Sheffield United 5, Luton on 6, 4, 5, 6, and but Bournemouth on 9 points. But Alan thinks Luton is going to stay up. That is lovely. It's lovely that you think that. Charlotte also agrees with you. I love it. Well done. The positivity, the enthusiasm, you cannot knock it. I don't think that will happen, but who knows? Who knows? If you don't have a dream, you can never have a dream come true. But Man City, of course, lead the table, because why not, on 28 points, and then Liverpool in second, and then Arsenal in third, 27 points. We're chasing them, but as Lucas said, maybe he's not as confident in Arsenal maintaining that and competing to the end. Tottenham in 4th on 26. Aston Villa in 5th position on 25th. And then Manchester United, a 6. Look at that, crawling their way up. They're dragging them up like a man.
Look at that goal difference. Isn't it beautiful?
-3.
Scratch our way up. That's what we need. The fantastic. Everyone's been lauding Brighton and Newcastle, and they're sat behind us with a -3 goal difference.
He's like that man in the movie that's just been gut shot, but he's dragging himself up the pavement to safety. He'll get there eventually. And then Newcastle United in 7th place, Brighton in 8th, West Ham 9th, and Chelsea in 10th. And I'm not going to go any lower than that because it's boring. If you want to see the rest of the table, it is on Google. You'll find it. But we just cover the best and the brightest here. But that takes us over to the joys of the La Liga, Samuel.
It is La Liga. I haven't seen too much of it this weekend, so I'm going to do this one a little bit on the fly. What I do know is we still have the coronavirus running crazy. It's running wild in La Liga. They came from behind against Rayo Vallecano, who have been very difficult to beat. I think they were on a crazy unbeaten streak with Vallecano. So Girona came from behind to win 2-1 and maintain their top spot going into the international break. So they're hanging in there. They're hanging in there. We saw this with Union Berlin last season. We're hoping they don't do similar and disappear towards the end. But so far, they're still hanging on with the big boys. Elsewhere, you had Real Madrid won 5-1 over Valencia, double for Vinicius Jr. and for Rodrigo, as they absolutely pumped Valencia, who had been picking up a little bit before then, but got well and truly put in their place. You had Barcelona. Barcelona conceded after just 18 seconds. Omorodion, lovely name. Omorodion of Alaves scored, and Barcelona had to come back with Lewandowski scoring a double with a penalty, the second to win the game. It was his first in 6 games for Lewandowski. A bit of a spell. Not often you see him go that many games without a goal. So Barcelona are still hanging in there as well. Elsewhere, you've got Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone, I think, has he signed a new contract? There was talks of a new contract. He's just going to be there forever, isn't he? He's the Roy Hodgson of Atletico Madrid. He's going to be there his entire career.
How old is he now? He's been there a long time, hasn't he?
Well, he's got to be what Beckham age, isn't it? That's always what I think with Simeone, the similarities. So he could be there
53.
forever. Is he gonna? Do you think he'll ever move somewhere else? Will he be at Atletico until he decides to call it a day?
I'm trying to find out how long he's been. He's been at Atletico for 12 years.
12 years. That's mad.
Years.
They're going to struggle if they say suddenly to change up a style after. You imagine how difficult it was after some clubs like Bielsa at Leeds and things like that. Try and change how Atletico Madrid are. But they won 3-1. Griezmann again. Griezmann's been banging in the goals. Axel Witsel as well scored for them.
Axel Witsel, the world's angriest footballer.
As they saw off Villarreal with a goal from one of your old boys, I think, Moreno, wasn't it? Left back. Was it Albert?
Alberto Moreno. Very handsome lad.
Very handsome, but on the losing side this weekend, unfortunately for him. Elsewhere, the chasing pack. Real Sociedad beat Almeria because Almeria are poo. They are way down there. They are having a dreadful season. They're in trouble. Athletic Bilbao had a classic with Celta Vigo. They won 4-3, which included a 90 plus 8 minute penalty to get them the 4-3 victory. And then it was a bit draw city, really. Draw city everywhere. Sevilla are one who are loving a draw this season. I think if you see on their form there, have they drawn literally all of their last 5 games or something ridiculous like that?
5 of the last 6.
It's 5 of the last 6. So they love a draw. I think as well, you've got Getafe. They had a draw against Granada. There's a few of them that are absolute draw merchants who have drawn at least half of their games. And the other one was Osasuna Las Palmas with a draw as well. So, yeah, Girona still doing the business, but for how long? That's the question.
I think Aled said, here we are, apparently Girona owned by City Group.
They are. It's the City Group. There's a whole load of...
I tell you what, I just noticed Almeria haven't won a game yet. I don't know if you remember last season, Elche went without winning a game until like the 20th game of the season or something. I think we'll have to find that out.
And if you notice, Elche aren't in La Liga this season, so that doesn't bode well for Almeria.
So we'll see who could go the longest without winning a game. Will it be Elche or Almeria? Who will win the losers game? We'll call it the game of losers. That takes us over to Serie A.
And I've spotted the first mistake already.
What now? What have I done?
Inter top of the league, not Juve.
In my defense, that's because I do this table.
Very Serie A of you. Very within context.
Corruption. Yeah. Juventus corruption strikes again.
Juve at the top.
I'm not staying up all night to create these graphics later to the evening, god damn it. They
Josh
should
has
play their
the,
games at a normal time.
He's had the brown paper bag from Serie A. So yeah, Juve are not top of the league, but they're on track to be. They're actually the informed team at the moment. They're smashing it. They're actually smashing it. And again, you look through Juve's squad, and it really isn't. It's nothing to be too impressed by. I mean, I'll just read some names like Locatelli, we all know from the Euros, but like Kostic, Chiesa's back. Moise Keane is still starting up front. Cambiasso, not that Cambiasso.
Esteban.
Obviously.
Wow.
Fabio Moretti, Bremer, Rugani, Gatti, and Chesney in goal. Like, it's a Juve side, not exactly brimming with talent, but they're on fire at the moment. They're the informed team, and this is turning into a 2-horse race. So Inter Milan are on 31 points. They won at the weekend against Cagliari. One of the games where Lautaro Martinez hasn't scored that's the first game in ages because he's been banging them in both Europe and Serie A. AC Milan haven't won a game in 3 now. That's 2 draws and a loss. They're a bit all over the place at the moment. So 4, 2 losses, 2 draws. So they're kind of dropped off. You see how quick it is with Inter and Juve. Napoli, no one's taken them serious this year. What's his name? Spalletti obviously left, which is a big miss, and that's being felt throughout. Mm-hmm. There's issues with Osimhen going on, rightfully so. Special case looking like a one season wonder. If we're being real, he's been shocking this year. So Napoli, I'd say, are not. Let's be real, they're not going to defend it this year. I don't think they're going to be able to turn it around. The way Inter and Juve are playing, it's going to be too much for them. Atalanta, again, not really. Always on the fringes, but not really there. Roma started to pick up a good few points there with Lukaku actually getting some form, but they've had a bit of trouble in the last one with a draw at Lazio. Again, that's not an easy game. Lazio at home, who again were picking up a few points. Napoli they need to shuffle quick, and they need to figure out this Osimhen thing because I think they just cash in January.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I think? Stop being racist. That's a really good start for Napoli.
Yeah, that's one thing that would help, definitely.
Who would have thought getting rid of something that wasn't socially acceptable like 50 years ago would have made a difference to your team?
Yeah, would actually make your team more sustainable. But Serie A for you. But yeah, I think we're looking at a 2-horse race. I mean, Milan are good enough to turn it around, but injuries, suspensions, things like that, and Champions League is kind of distracting them a bit. But I think we are looking at we're not looking at a similar situation to last year with one team running away and then 4 or 5 competing. But I think we're looking at a Juve versus Inter, to be honest. And Juve haven't got European football, so that's bonus.
I mean, and Luke thinks Lazio could be doing better than 10th.
Terrible start, yeah, but they're them and Roma really bad starts, but they're starting to get it together.
Oh God, you gotta love a Jose Mourinho side. Another 6 to the SPFL, which Charlotte's unnerved me. She sent me over an extensive write-up and advised me she can't wait to hear me try and say some of the names. So I should have forwarded this straight over to Sam to read, really. I'm gonna give this a whirl. The first game is Dundee 4. St Mirren 0. What a win for Dundee. Oh my God, Bakayoko brace. Zach Rudden penalty and a very late Zach Robinson goal helped defeat 3rd place St Mirren. Dundee are 5th in the league, but after that win, I'm only 2 points behind St Mirren. Hibs 1, Kilmarnock 0. A first half goal from Josh Campbell was enough for Hibs to gain all 3 points, and they are now 7th on 15 points, which, bear in mind, 7th always sounds very impressive. There are only 12 teams. And Kilmarnock is 6 and a point in front. Motherwell 1, Hearts 2. A win that Hearts really did deserve. They comfortably dominated the game, even though the scoreline did seem close, more possession of the ball, and created nearly double the chances Motherwell had. A familiar name to our viewers. Oh my God, as I've mentioned him in a fair few times already this season. But the Lawrence Shanklin double puts Hearts in front for the majority of the game. Motherwell were awarded a penalty in the 78th minute, which Blair Spittle scored, but it wasn't. That's a good name, isn't it? Blair Spittle. But it wasn't enough for the home side. They are 8th on 12 points, and Hearts are 4th on 17. St Johnstone 1, Ross County 0. A Graham Carey goal in the 71st minute gave St Johnstone all 3 points and helped them leapfrog over Ross County to 10th. They are now 1 point in front of Ross County and Livingston. And Luke saying St Mirren are doing well this season. Where's St. Mirren? Where are St. Mirren?
Third, yeah, huge for them. They're usually battling down the bottom, so big for them.
We've got Livingston 0, Rangers 2. Rangers away at Livingston, but there's plenty more goals in the game. But unfortunately for Rangers, they didn't count. Defender Connor Goodson scored scoring in the 40th minute, but VAR ruled it out for an offside. Rangers were then awarded a penalty 9 minutes later. A chance for Graham Tavernier to put them 1-0 up. For the second time in 2 weeks, he missed from the spot. I think the first one, he blatted it over. Now I've lost my place by saying that. But 3 minutes later, Tavernier is missed from the spot. Forward Civil Dessers finally put Rangers 1-0 up. Third time lucky for them. A minute before the referee blew for half-time, Rangers for the third time had the ball in the back of Livingston's net with Ross McCausland. I'm getting nervous because there's meant to be big names coming up, but I'm getting the easy ones wrong. But referee Steve McLean once again signalled to VAR, and for the second time, Rangers' celebrations were short-lived as McCausland's goal was in fact ruled out for a foul. The second half was very similar to the first, with Rangers dominating the game and created more chances again. Then finally, in the 75th minute, James Tavernier corrected from his mistake for the first half and converted Rangers' second penalty of the game, putting them 2-0 up. A great win for them, as they say, in second point, and Livingston are still rock bottom on 10 points. And Rangers get a lot of penalties, don't they? And here we go. The one that I can't say the majority of the names in this game is Celtic 6, Aberdeen 0. I could nearly not say Celtic. A 6-goal masterclass from top of the table Celtic, but 3 goals came in injury time. Yang Hun Jun put the home side 1-0 up in the 9th minute. His first league goal of the season. Kaigo Hashi getting the second goal just 7 minutes after the opener. A very good first half performance for Celtic. The second half saw Celtic cruising, but they didn't score the third until they were in fact awarded a penalty, and Lewis Palmer, not Cole Palmer, converted from the spot in the 77th minute. Then injury time turned into a very exciting 7 minutes as Celtic scored not 1, not 2, but 3 goals in 7 minutes of extra time. David Turnbull scoring the first in the 92nd, and forward, Queen Guy getting the other 2 goals, taking his tally to 5 this season. Well done, Josh. A comfortable win for Celtic as they take top of the Scottish League, and they have 35 points, and there's still 7 clear of Rangers in second. Oh my days. I have a feeling Celtic may win the league this year. Don't ask me why, but I would be comfortable to say that. But that takes us over to the Bundesliga, which unfortunately I haven't got to watch as much as I would like, and I normally do this week. Lots of draws, lots of draws. Werder Bremen 2, Eintracht Frankfurt 2, which I'm not going to go over. Darmstadt, and I'm only mentioning this game because I like to say Darmstadt 0, Mainz 0, Bochum 1, Cologne 1, or Colgon, and Augsburg and Hoffenheim both won a piece. But interesting games. Gladbach beat Wolfsburg 4-0. They just embarrassed them, to be perfectly honest with you. Just an embarrassing performance for them. But in Leipzig have been a little bit hit and miss recently, but they managed to beat Freiburg 3-1. And what I would say is, if you do watch any highlights on the Bundesliga, watch Xavi Simons' first goal. I think he's on loan from PSG, I believe. Wonderful little midfielder, beautiful little drinking run, and a superb finish to score the opening goal in 6 minutes, giving Leipzig that victory 3-1 over Freiburg. And the other game, what was the other game that I wanted to talk about? Because there weren't that many. Stuttgart against Borussia Dortmund, who have been very poor, really, all season. Managed to keep their high position in the league purely and simply because there's a lot of teams here marginally better than. But as soon as they come up against a team with a little bit of class, and Garassi, back from injury, managed to score a penalty in the 83rd minute to give Stuttgart a 2-1 victory over Borussia Dortmund. As you can see, that puts Dortmund down from 4th into 5th place. That takes us to the 2 exciting games, the games I know we all want to hear about. Your friend and mine, Harry Kane. Harry Kane scoring 2 goals in Bayern Munich's 4-2 win over Heidenheim. He's actually become the first player in Bundesliga history to reach, I believe it is 17 goals in 11 games. 17 goals in 11 games. His first goal, oh my days, how he scored it, I've got absolutely no idea. He received the ball with his back to goal, managed to pirouette. He didn't turn, he just stayed, his 2 feet stayed, his toes swung himself around, and he kicked the ball toe poked it. It looked like it was going to go wide, and it curled and dipped into the bottom right-hand corner. Absolutely superb goal there by Harry Kane. And then the second was a bullet header in the 44th minute. I think Heidenheim did try and correct this, scoring 2 goals to equalise and make it 2-2 before Rafael Guerrero scored the 72nd minute. And Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, the hero from last season for Bayern Munich, scored in the 85th minute to make it 4. He didn't celebrate. In fact, he looked really peed off that there was some skinny little Englishman stealing all of his glory up front as Bayern Munich win 4-2. However, in order to go top, they needed a result to go in their favour at the other side of Germany, as our friend, the most handsomest of all football managers, the greatest midfielder to grace the Premier League, because I say so, as Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen refused to sit down. They said no. They said no, we are not going to be outdone by Bayern Munich. You might score 4, but you conceded 2. Do you know what we're going to do? Score 4 and concede none. So take that, you bastards. As they won, Leverkusen won 4-0 against Union Berlin. Alex Grimaldo, he scored a couple of absolute worldies so far this season. This game was no exception. He scored an absolute belter from outside the box. I would highly, highly recommend you seek that one out and take a gander. And it's just everybody scoring. Names I can't say, and I'm not even going to attempt to say. A chap who scored at the 57th minute, with the 73rd with Jonathan Tah, and then Nathan Teller on the 83rd minute. But they battered Union Berlin. Battered them. I think 70% possession, 10 shots and goals to their 2 shots, full stop, in the whole of the game for Union Berlin. Union Berlin only managing 360 passes, and Leverkusen over 800. It was absolutely dominant. But Union Berlin now 9th straight loss in the Bundesliga. I think they managed to draw against Napoli in the Champions League. But that's been it. I've got a horrible feeling that Union Berlin's dream, the wonders that they were having, is all over. But the dream continues for Leverkusen. 2 points ahead. You've got Bayer Leverkusen on 31, which is 2 points ahead of Bayern Munich, which is 5 points ahead of Stuttgart, which is 1 point ahead of Leipzig, which is 2 points ahead of Dortmund, which is 2 points ahead of Hoffenheim, which is 1 point ahead of Frankfurt, which is 4 points ahead of Freiburg, which is 1 point ahead of Gladbach, which is the same points of Augsburg, the same points as Wolfsburg, 2 points ahead of Werder Bremen, 1 point ahead of Heidenheim, 1 point ahead of Bochum, 1 point ahead of Darmstadt, who are 1 point ahead of Mainz, who are 1 point ahead of Cologne, who are the same points as Union Berlin on 6 at the bottom. Sad times. It takes over the Eredivisie, which we haven't got right. Apparently, Billy is on jury duty. He's deciding the life of another human being. So no pressure, but don't get it wrong. But Ajax are still the story of the Eredivisie, but they've managed to win a game, and they drew a game this week, so they pulled themselves off the bottom. They've certainly got a new manager bounce going on at the moment. But at the top, PSV Eindhoven still leading the way for the Eredivisie on 36 points. I love saying Eredivisie. It's the only reason really why we cover it. And Feyenoord in second place on 29, and Twente on 27 points, and then Ahma in 4th place. And then over in Ligue, no one cares. Nobody cares, because Paris Saint-Germain just spoil it for everybody. But if we pretend that they're not there, it's nice in second place, should be on 1st place, followed by Monaco, and then Lille and Lyon. Leon won a game of football. They aren't going to beat Elche's record. Almira is still the only ones on track, but Leon won a game of football, 1-0 against Reims, which surprised the hell out of me. But that is Ligue 1, and I think that is us. That is us on the Absolute Football Podcast. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. Hasn't it been wonderful? Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Craig. Mark, who also goes under Mr. Anonymous. Heather, thank you. Alex, for coming in as well. Lisa, there's someone else that I know was here that I've completely forgotten. If you have here and you have said something, Claire, how could I forget Claire? Because where's Claire? Claire was there. She was there. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been absolutely fan-dabby-dozy. And should people want some Sam, should they want some of you, where are you? Where can they find you?
Well, I can only offer them the choice. I can't make them or force them, but I'm at Up the Effing Ducks on Twitter, on TikTok, doing some football TikToks, and also I updated my website a bit recently with Bundesliga shirts. If you like the Bundesliga, go up to upthefnducks.com and have a little look and rate and vote some of their shirts from this season. There's some absolute stinkers and there's some absolute classics in there. So Up the Effing Ducks, pretty much anywhere. That's me.
Stupendous. And of course, for those of you who are gamers and those of you who love football, Football Manager, the new Football Manager has come out. And I have no doubt Mr. Lucas has been streaming a bit of Football Manager. And Lucas, where can people find you and what are you playing?
I have indeed. I've been streaming FM24 Bolton Save, actually. See if I can bring them back to the Prem and do better than Sam Allardyce did. But yes, I will be online evenings this week and at some point over the weekend as well. But you can find me Crab Dribble on Twitch and Crab Dribble on TikTok.
And is the game any good? Is it any different or?
Yeah, it's getting there. I haven't played enough to make a decision, but so far it hasn't made me pull my hair out. So that's a start.
That is superb, but make sure you do follow them there. And of course, if you want any of me, you can't have me because I'm all taken, ladies. But I am available on Twitter on FMFO_official. Feel free to have wonderful football conversations with me. But if you start to verbally abuse me, I'm just going to mock you because I think it's silly. And of course, we do ask, please follow the podcast. And for all of our audio listeners, make sure you give us 5 stars, follows, all of that jazz. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. But we thoroughly enjoy it. It makes us very happy. This is still the old graphic because Sam still hasn't sent me the new one yet.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, one could argue I could do it myself, and maybe I should, but I'm so lazy and I'm so reliant upon Sam and his good work. I don't want to diminish anything that he does. But you can follow us at Absolute Ball Pod on Twitter, Absolute Football Podcast on YouTube and Twitch, Absolute Football Pod on the tickety tick 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 tock boom, and on Threads if anyone does that anymore, and Instagram we are Absolute Football Podcast _ and the Absolute Football Podcast on Facebook Mondays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. We are 8:30 p.m. on both. You can join us live and be part of the conversation. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful evening. And TTFN and ta-ta for now.